If you work out his BMI, you'll find it's beyond 40. Look at his waist. He doesn't have fat. So how come his BMI is high? How do we make like a proper estimation or calculate someone's risk of having heart disease? I want to show you two ways. One is this. We can estimate the risk by calculating what we call BMI. What is your BMI? BMI is calculation of mass divided by height squared. The mass is kilograms and height squares in meters squared. This ratio gives you somehow just like a value, and this value can somehow be used to estimate the risk. So let's take an example. This boy on the left has his body mass 66. You divide it by 1.45 squared. So you get his BMI. So that is his BMI, is 39. And the other boy there on the right, his BMI is 19. Usually the question comes with a scale, and that scale tells you the state of the person. So for instance, if someone's BMI is below 20, this tells you that he's underweight. So this guy is slightly underweight. Between 20 and 25 is the normal. 25 to 30 is overweight. And our gentleman here is 39, so he is quite obese. But this has a catch, which this guy here. If you work out his BMI, you'll find it's beyond 40. Look at his waist. He doesn't have fat, so how come his BMI is high? It's just because muscles weigh more than fat. So he would get very high BMI, but yet he's quite healthy. So that's something you have to consider. So BMI alone is not going to be useful unless you do other calculations. So again, the moral of this whole thing, we can calculate risk, we can get estimation, but as always, one clue, one evidence is never enough. For that reason, I want to show you another way to determine risk. This is what we call the waist to hip ratio. So how do you do that ratio here? Very simple. You need something like this to wrap around the waist, and you measure what? You're going to measure the waist, centimeters, right? You measure the hips in centimeters, and you divide and you get a ratio. Now, this ratio here tells you how much fat there is. So going back to our guy here, he will have very low waist to hip ratio, which tells you he doesn't have much fats. And once again, the number as it is not going to be helpful unless we have a scale. So for that reason, a scale like this time it has to be different between males and females because of how their bodies are. So with males, if that ratio is within 1, like near 1, it's fine. He is quite healthy. He doesn't have much body fats. In females, it should be around 0.8. Again, this tells you how much fats are stored in these body parts. Again, because that's where we store our fats. So again, this alone is not good. BMI alone is not good. Combination between those two would be way more helpful. And again, with measurements, it's likely to make errors, especially with this measurement. BMI is fine. You just stand on a balance, you measure your height. But this one is likely to make errors. Where our errors might be made, usually sources of errors here come from cheating. You do like, and then you measure your waist. It's going to give you very low value, right? Tape pulled tight on the waist. You need just to measure your waist. You have to let the body tissues relax, and then you repeat. So again, the first measurement, you measure the waist, then give it 1 minute at least, then repeat, because the first measurement already decreases the size of someone's waist. Okay? So all of these would lead to what? All of these would lead to an underestimation of risk because he would feel fit, but he's not.